The divorce papers arrived on a Tuesday morning, slipped under our front door like a death sentence. I stared at the manila envelope, my name written in Adam's careful handwriting, and felt my world crumble. Just 48 hours earlier, I'd been dancing on tables at our office Christmas party, laughing with my co-workers, feeling alive for the first time in months. Now my husband was ending our 7-year marriage, and I couldn't understand why one night of harmless fun had destroyed everything. The Sunrise Medical Supplies office buzzed with holiday energy as Friday afternoon melted into evening. Christmas lights twinkled around cubicles, and someone had set up a makeshift bar near the copy machine. I should have gone home hours ago, but the thought of returning to Adam's distant silence and Paige's homework battles felt suffocating. "Eulalie, you're not leaving already, are you?" Felix Tran appeared beside my desk, holding 2 plastic cups of what smelled like cheap wine mixed with something stronger. His dark eyes sparkled with mischief, and I felt a flutter of excitement I hadn't experienced in years. "I should probably head home," I said, but my hand was already reaching for the cup. "Adam's expecting me for dinner." Felix laughed, a warm sound that made me feel younger than my 32 years. "Come on, it's the office party. Live a little." "When's the last time you had fun?" I couldn't remember. Between Adam's teaching schedule and Paige's activities, our conversations had dwindled to logistics and bill payments. When had we stopped being lovers and become just roommates managing a household? My phone buzzed. A text from Adam. "Paige is asking when you'll be home. Dinner's ready." Instead of guilt, I felt a spike of irritation. Why couldn't he handle one evening with our daughter without making me feel guilty? I was working hard to support our family too. "Tell him you're networking," Felix suggested, reading over my shoulder. "Technically true." I typed back, "Working late on year-end reports. Start without me." The lie came easily, which should have been my first warning. Within an hour, the office had transformed. Desks were pushed aside, music played from someone's Bluetooth speaker, and the alcohol flowed freely. My co-workers shed their professional personas, becoming the fun, spontaneous people I rarely saw during business hours. "Eulalie, get over here," called Sarah from accounting. "We're taking pictures for Instagram." I found myself posing with my female colleagues, laughing at jokes that weren't particularly funny, but felt hilarious after 3 drinks. The wine had loosened something inside me, a part of myself I'd buried under years of being Adam's wife and Paige's mother. "You look amazing tonight," Felix whispered in my ear as we posed for another photo. His hand rested on my lower back, and I didn't move away. The compliment sent warmth through my chest. When was the last time Adam had told me I looked amazing? I'd worn my favorite black dress tonight, the one that hugged my curves and made me feel confident, but Adam hadn't even looked up from grading papers when I left. "Dance with me," Felix said as someone cranked up the music. The rational part of my brain, the part that remembered I was married with a 7-year-old daughter at home, whispered warnings. But that voice was getting quieter with each sip of wine, drowned out by the intoxicating feeling of being wanted, admired, desired. We danced close, closer than appropriate for co-workers. Felix's hands found my waist, and I let them stay there. Around us, other colleagues cheered and took photos. Someone live-streamed to their social media. In the moment, it felt like harmless fun, like finally breaking free from the suffocating routine of my suburban life. "Get on the table," someone shouted. "Come on, Eulalie, show us those dance moves." The conference table had been cleared of food, and suddenly it seemed like the perfect stage. Felix helped me climb up, his hands steady on my hips. The room spun slightly from the alcohol, but I felt powerful, sexy, alive. I danced to the pulsing music, my inhibitions completely dissolved. My co-workers cheered and took videos, their phones capturing every move. Felix reached up, his hands on my waist again, and I didn't care who saw. This was my moment, my night to be someone other than the responsible wife and mother I'd been for so many years. "Send it to everyone," someone yelled, and laughter erupted around the room. Through the haze of alcohol and adrenaline, I saw phones recording, social media posts being shared in real time. A tiny voice in my head tried to warn me, but I pushed it away. Adam never paid attention to social media anyway. What harm could it do? My phone buzzed insistently in my purse, but I ignored it. Tonight wasn't about Adam's expectations or Paige's bedtime routine. Tonight was about me, finally, after years of putting everyone else first. As the night wore on, Felix and I grew bolder. We danced together, his hands roaming freely while our colleagues cheered us on. Someone made jokes about office romance, and instead of being embarrassed, I felt thrilled by the attention. It was nearly midnight when I finally checked my phone. 7 missed calls from Adam, a dozen texts ranging from concerned to angry. The last one, sent just minutes ago, made my blood run cold. "I saw the video. We need to talk." The party suddenly felt too loud, too bright. The room spun, and not just from the alcohol. How had Adam seen a video? He barely used social media, preferring his books and lesson plans to the digital world I'd been performing for all evening. "I have to go," I told Felix, grabbing my purse with shaking hands. "Everything okay?" His concern seemed genuine, but I noticed he stepped back, putting distance between us for the first time all night. "Fine. Just tired," I lied, already heading for the door. The drive home was a blur of panic and rationalization. It was just dancing, just fun. Adam was overreacting, being his usual controlling self. I'd done nothing wrong except enjoy myself for once. By the time I pulled into our driveway, I'd almost convinced myself that I was the victim in this situation. The house was dark except for the kitchen light. Adam sat at our small dining table, his laptop open, his face illuminated by the harsh blue glow of the screen. He looked up as I entered, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before: complete disappointment. "We need to talk," he said quietly, his voice steady but cold. The kitchen felt smaller than usual as I faced Adam across our dining table. He'd positioned his laptop so I could see the screen, and my heart sank as I recognized the video playing on repeat. There I was, dancing on the conference table, Felix's hands on my waist, both of us laughing and moving to music I could barely hear through my phone's tiny speakers. "It's not what it looks like," I said automatically, the words tumbling out before I could think them through. Adam paused the video and looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Not anger exactly, but something worse. Complete disillusionment. "What is it then, Eulalie?" "Because it looks like my wife dancing inappropriately with another man while our daughter asked me 6 times when Mommy was coming home." The mention of Paige sent a stab of guilt through my chest, but I pushed it away. I couldn't let Adam make me feel bad for finally having some fun. I was networking, building relationships with my colleagues. You know how important my job is to our family's finances. "Networking?" Adam's voice remained calm, which somehow made it worse than if he'd shouted. "Is that what you call letting another man put his hands all over you in front of your entire office?" "Felix was just helping me dance. You're making it sound like something it wasn't." I moved to the refrigerator, needing something to do with my hands. "Maybe if you paid half as much attention to me as you do to your students' homework, I wouldn't need to find friendship elsewhere." It was a low blow, and I knew it. Adam worked incredibly hard as a middle school teacher, often bringing home papers to grade and staying late for parent conferences. But I was feeling cornered, and attacking seemed like my best defense. Adam closed the laptop slowly. "So this is my fault?" I didn't say that. I poured myself a glass of water, trying to buy time to think. "I'm just saying that marriage is supposed to be a partnership. When's the last time you told me I looked nice? When's the last time we went out together, just the two of us? When's the last time you asked me to? When's the last time you suggested we get a babysitter instead of staying late at the office?" Adam's composure was starting to crack. "I've been trying to connect with you for months, Eulalie, but every time I suggest we spend time together, You have work to catch up on, or you're too tired. The accusation stung because it held a grain of truth. I had been avoiding intimacy with Adam, but not for the reasons he thought. Somewhere along the way, we'd become strangers sharing a house, and I'd found it easier to lose myself in work than confront the growing distance between us. "That's not fair," I said, but my voice lacked conviction. My phone buzzed on the counter. A text from my sister Sandra. "Saw your Instagram stories. Looks like you had fun at the office party." My stomach dropped. If Sandra had seen the videos, that meant they were spreading beyond just my immediate co-workers. How many people had shared them? How far had they traveled through the interconnected web of social media? "Who else has seen this?" I asked, nodding toward the laptop. Adam's expression darkened. "My mother called 20 minutes ago. Apparently, one of her church friends saw it on Facebook and recognized you. She wanted to know if everything was okay with our marriage." The blood drained from my face. Janice Vane had never particularly liked me, always making subtle comments about how I wasn't quite good enough for her precious son. This would be ammunition for her disapproval for years to come. "What did you tell her?" "I told her I'd handle it." Adam stood up, suddenly looking older than his 35 years. "But I don't know how to handle this, Eulalie. I don't know how to handle being married to someone who would humiliate our family like this." Humiliate? The word sparked anger in my chest. I danced at an office party. I didn't rob a bank or have an affair. You're acting like I committed some terrible crime. You let another man touch you intimately in front of dozens of people, and they recorded it and shared it online. My colleagues have seen it. Paige's teachers might see it. How is that not humiliating? I wanted to argue, to defend myself, but the fight was draining out of me. The alcohol had worn off, leaving behind a pounding headache, and the growing realization that maybe, just maybe, I'd made a terrible mistake. "I'm sorry," I said quietly. "I didn't think it would go this far." Adam stared at me for a long moment. "That's the problem, Eulalie. You didn't think. You didn't think about me, or Paige, or the consequences of your actions. You just did whatever felt good in the moment." Upstairs, I heard a small voice call out, "Daddy? Mummy? Why are you talking so loud?" We both froze. Paige's bedroom was directly above the kitchen, and our voices must have carried through the thin floors of our townhouse. "I'll go check on her," Adam said, already moving toward the stairs. "No, let me. She's probably wondering where I was tonight." Adam blocked my path. "You smell like alcohol and another man's cologne." "I'll handle it." The words hit me like a physical blow. I watched my husband climb the stairs to comfort our daughter, and for the first time that night, I truly understood what I'd lost. Not just Adam's trust, but my role as the mother Paige could depend on. I sank into a kitchen chair and opened my phone. The notifications were overwhelming. Likes, comments, shares, tags. The video had taken on a life of its own, spreading through networks I didn't even know existed. Co-workers from other departments had shared it. Friends from high school were commenting. Even my old college roommate had tagged me with a laughing emoji. Each notification felt like another nail in the coffin of my reputation. What had seemed like harmless fun just hours ago now looked tawdry and desperate through the lens of social media permanence. Adam returned after 20 minutes, his face grim. "She heard us arguing. She wanted to know if we were getting divorced like her friend Emma's parents." "What did you tell her?" "I told her that Mommy and Daddy were having a disagreement, but that we both love her very much." He sat down across from me again. "But I don't know if that's enough anymore." The implication hung in the air between us like a toxic cloud. For the first time since I'd walked through the door, I felt genuine fear. Not fear of Adam's anger, but fear that I might have damaged something that couldn't be repaired. "Adam, please. It was one night, one stupid mistake. Don't let it ruin everything we've built together." He was quiet for so long I thought he might not answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "I need time to think. I'm going to sleep in the guest room tonight." As he gathered his laptop and headed upstairs, I sat alone in our kitchen, surrounded by the remnants of our normal life. Paige's art projects on the refrigerator, Adam's coffee mug in the sink, the grocery list we'd made together just that morning. Everything looked the same, but something fundamental had shifted. I didn't know it then, but Adam was already making plans. While I sat in the kitchen, alternating between self-pity and justification, my husband was upstairs researching divorce attorneys and documenting everything he'd need to protect our daughter from the chaos I'd created. The worst part was that I still didn't fully understand what I'd done wrong. In my mind, I was the victim of Adam's jealousy and controlling behavior. It would take much longer for me to realize that my actions had consequences far beyond one night of dancing, and that some mistakes can't be undone with apologies and excuses. Monday morning arrived with all the subtlety of a freight train. I'd spent the weekend in a haze of anxiety and denial, watching Adam maintain polite distance while Paige asked increasingly pointed questions about why Daddy was sleeping in the guest room. Walking into the Sunrise Medical Supplies office felt like entering a courtroom where I was both the defendant and the star witness. Conversation stopped when I passed. Co-workers who'd been cheering me on Friday night now avoided eye contact, suddenly fascinated by their computer screens or coffee cups. "Morning, Eulalie," said Janet from reception, her voice carrying a tone I'd never heard before. Not quite disapproval, but definitely not the warm greeting I was used to. I made it to my desk and tried to focus on emails, but concentration was impossible. Every whisper felt like it was about me. Every glance in my direction seemed loaded with judgment. The video had clearly made its rounds through the office, and I was learning